So welcome to the webinar. I'm Matthew Pearson. I work at Learning by Questions, and one of my jobs is to look after the Shine project. It's a fantastic project, and we wanted to do a webinar dedicated to it. So we've assembled a fantastic lineup of 3 people to talk about their experiences. First up, we've got Leanne, who's going to be speaking in just 1 more minute, and she's a program manager at Shine. So she's going to explain a little bit about why Shine decided to put some money into Learning by Questions and the reasons around raising attainment for children, bridging the equality gap and stuff like that. And then I've got 2 teachers. So there's Sam, who's deputy head at St Bede's Newcastle, also a year 6 teacher, who's got extensive experience of using Learning by Questions in the classroom. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. And then there's Stephen Molyneux from Throston Primary in Hartlepool, who has also used Learning by Questions a lot in the classroom, but has also been using it quite a lot in lockdown, sending codes home and stuff like that. So with those 3 speakers, that will give us a really good overview of what Learning by Questions does. And then we'll just say a little bit about the Shine project. I mean, basically, we'll be posting a link, but the headline on the Shine project is, if you're a school in the North East or a school in Cumbria, then you can get subsidised access to Learning by Questions for 3 years. There's various models of doing it, which I won't go into because we've got them all explained in a document. But basically, it's a really great way of introducing Learning by Questions into your school, and Pat's just posted the link. So enough of me. I'm going to hand over now to Leanne, who's going to say a little bit about the Shine angle on this.
Yeah, hello everyone. I think there's actually a few people I recognise the name of. Pauline, I'm hoping it's the same Pauline. So hi, and Alan, hi. I saw your chat. So yeah, I work for Shine in the head office. For a bit of background information on Shine, we're a charity with the aim to support disadvantaged children across the north of England. We were founded in 1999, and we worked in London for 20 years. They compared the data and saw that schools in the north and children in the north were lagging behind at every step, and felt that they'd achieved quite a lot in London, and made the quite radical decision to up sticks and move the charity to the north, and with a focus solely on the north of the country, which is great. When we moved north, that was coming up to 2 years ago now, we reshaped our priorities. So we have 4 main funding priorities, 3 which I look after. We've got Ready for School, Bridging the Gap and Flying High. The LbQ project specifically sits under the Bridging the Gap, so I'll sort of detail a bit more as to why that links in a second. And we also have a competition called Let Teachers Shine, which obviously we've got lots of teachers here, so it would be unfair for me to not mention it. We'll be launching that in September, so do keep an eye on our website. That's a competition for teachers with really innovative ideas to enter. Things like timetables, rock stars, which I'm sure most of you will know, was actually a Let Teachers Shine winner back down in London, and obviously now that's massive. We look to fund projects that are innovative, that can drive change, that can impact educational landscape, and most importantly, that can change the outcomes for children from disadvantaged homes. When LbQ approached us, obviously for those of you that are already using it, St Bede's and First, is it? It's so innovative. For me, you can read about it. I came up to the classroom up at where were we now, Matthew? Durham.
Lanchester. You went to Lanchester.
And until you see it in person, you're like, oh, it sounds great on paper, and you see it and you're like, why isn't everyone doing this? So Bridging the Gap for us is about supporting children through the transition from primary into secondary school, so with a particular focus on year 6 through to year 8. For those that probably aren't hitting where they're expected to be, and how can we support them to make that transition smoother and to increase academic attainment in core subjects. So when LbQ came forward with what they've got, that is a focus on an innovation that can provide support in those core subjects, but also that communication between primary and secondary school, I think, is a really big important part of this project. The data's transferable. For us, we just thought it was so innovative. LbQ obviously got a great history in working in technology and the education sector already, which is amazing, and there's lots of amazing innovations out there, but this really stood out to us. And we really felt that what LbQ can offer could have a real impact on student progress. So that's why we decided to go in and co-fund this, because we believe that more schools should be able to have access to this, and we don't want money to be a barrier to children accessing different projects and different interventions. And I could ramble on, Matthew, but I'm going to stop because we've got
You
time.
haven't rambled on. That's not rambling at all. That's sticking exactly to what I asked you to do, which is brilliant. So, yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, and just to say a little bit before I introduce Sam from Newcastle is that's your kind of 1 minute warning, Sam. Is of the schools who are using learning by questions at the moment, obviously, if we go back to normal times, so not lockdown, but when the schools were functioning normally, it was being used a lot by teachers in the classroom, which is how it was designed, because it is a whole class teaching tool. But it also works really well for intervention and booster groups. So what I was seeing in primaries a lot was smaller groups of children being taken out, maybe the ones who needed that additional support that Leanne's spoken about, and learning by questions being one of the strategies that the school uses to bring those pupils up to the level where they can, where they're with their peers, and they're going to particularly then be able to take advantage of what happens when they go on to secondary. So yeah, I will introduce Sam now. So Sam's deputy head teacher and year 6 teacher at St Bede's in Newcastle. You've been using learning by questions for a while now, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experiences in the classroom. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Matthew. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so Sam, as Matthew said, deputy head and year 6 teacher in Newcastle. I've been in year 6 for a while. I first heard about learning by questions on Twitter. Ashley Booth, Mr. Booth, had tweeted about a trial, and I thought, it's something I could get involved in. The main reason I wanted to use it was I was doing a SATS year 6 breakfast booster type thing for a few months before the SAT, and I racked up probably the biggest photocopying bill in the school. There was a list published each year where it showed you the worst offenders, and it was me every year, and it was always that SATS booster. It was the amount of photocopying I was doing was a little bit silly, actually. So I thought something online, something digital might get me out of that that list on the school blog and get me back into the head teacher's good books. So signed up to Learning by Questions trial, and initially just used it for that breakfast booster. I had about 20 kids coming in each morning. I found that it was a real game changer. I could set a task, normally an assessment task or a topic review or something like that, for the kids to crack on with. I could keep track of how they were doing on my iPad in real time. I could focus my work specifically on those intervention groups that I needed to spend some more time with. It freed me up, quite considerably. All the while I could see what was going on. I loved the fact that I could press pause on a task, so get them to all stop and actually listen to what I was saying, as opposed to just carrying on and pretending I was I was interesting. And I could directly sort of teach the misconceptions on the board when I could see that 4 or 5 of them were getting something wrong, as I'm sure you'll see when you look at the trials yourself and when you ever go at Learning by Questions. So we loved the trial. The year came to the end, and I said to the head, look, we need to go for this. It just so happens that certainly partly to do with Learning by Questions, we got the best SATs our schools had in a long time last year, and so we wanted to repeat the same sort of setup again this year. So it must have been early autumn term, and I was at the Learn Ed Roadshow, and I saw another Learning by Questions demonstration. Spoke to a couple of the guys about the Shine sort of project, and thought, right, I'm going to get involved in that. And within the week, we'd signed up. And like I said, we'd barely scratched the surface with Learning by Questions. We were just using it as a booster tool, but now it's become part of the school week. It's, we're using it for starter activities. We're using it for morning activities when the kids are first coming in. We're using it for topic reviews, here, there, and everywhere. It's become much more frequent in the school day. The kids love it. it's saved us a fortune in time, resources, and I'm proud to say I'm no longer on the photocopy hit list, which is possibly the main aim. But no, we absolutely love it. We signed up. We've had the tablets delivered. They came shortly before lockdown started, but really quick to set up, pick up and go. The kids absolutely love them. No one else in the school is allowed to come near them. They are mine and mine alone. But the kids are really enjoying it, and we're seeing some rapid progress actually. Through minimal teacher effort, and the kids are really flying. So yeah, I couldn't recommend it more highly. Really, it's really been a lifesaver for us.
Brilliant, thanks, Sam. Yeah, I mean, Sam was very kind to run a workshop for us when we used to do physical workshops. Remember that, when we weren't all on Zoom or Google Meet? Again, he was able to show us exactly the way that learning by questions allowed that kind of intervention, because you do get, if you've never used learning by questions before, we don't really do a demo in these kind of meetings. It's more of a chat, but we do have a completely free trial. So you can go to lbq.org/try LbQ. You could sign up for an account and you can use it for free for 60 days. So you can see the kind of power it can have straight away. And one of the most powerful things about it is you get instant feedback on how all the pupils are doing. So as Sam said, if there's a misconception, if they're doing something wrong, if they're adding the numerator and the denominator, you can see it straight away. You can see what's happening, and then you can press pause, which pauses a task, and then you can do a bit of teaching, sort it out and carry on. And it's all those kind of things that the very clever people at LbQ work really hard to get right. So yeah, that's good stuff. So I'll just ask you one more question, Sam. This is a bit of a beamer, but what are you thinking about how you're going to work when you go back to school, or is it just too much up in the air? Is that an unfair question?
No, that's completely fair. It's all I've been doing for the past fortnight. So yes, we're definitely incorporating learning by questions. We've sorted out all our classrooms and we've put tablets in each one, so the kids have got designated tablets. It's going to be the case where we're going to have different members of staff teaching the year sixes, obviously, because we're splitting them up. So yes, the fact that I can still have some sort of oversight over that is actually quite beneficial. So being set up with the learning by questions project with Shine, we're in a place where we are ready to, I can still have some sort of handle on what they're doing in that group, especially with regard to their maths and their English.
Yeah, Leanne's asked a question there. So Leanne's question was, have you been using LbQ at home while the children have been at home at all, Sam?
Just recently, I saw somebody else post something about on Twitter. We'd sort of given parents the details for the parent carer sort of setup, but we've started now. We're using a platform on our website, and I've started putting a code on each morning, and we're getting more take up as time goes on. So yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. That is a good point in the proceedings to actually introduce Stephen. So Stephen's from Throston Primary, also a year 6 teacher. Did I get that right? You are a year 6 teacher? Yeah. Throston joined earlier this year to Shine. Again, it was before coronavirus. So basically it was, they got interested in the project, what it could do. And the teachers had the training and they went away and used it. The reason that I invited Stephen is because you've used it quite a lot during lockdown with sending codes home. So I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit more about how that was going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. I'd kind of echo what Sam and Matthew just said there about obviously joining the project and being part of it, and everything was very, very easy. But we kind of took it on board in January of this year, ran with it in school. Children absolutely loved it. They were really flexible about it and their approach to it. They're really engaged in it as well. And so obviously we began using it to kind of supplement the class, but to kind of overtook that. We kind of started using it as a whole class teaching tool as well. And it was because it's so differentiated as well, it really targeted certain children. and really any misconceptions were quickly put to bed, and we kind of raised the aspirations of it as well, and it gave them a lot of confidence. Now, when obviously COVID-19 kind of happened, what we did as a staff, because we've only got them in year 6, we actually sat down and said, right, this is the work we're going to send home, and as a whole school we send kind of like a template of work home, but we wanted to add extra. So what we would do is we would set 2 tasks initially per day, and we decided to alternate between maths and grammar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the children, because they were really interested, they wanted to do the work. And I think they kind of wanted to show with SATs coming as well that they were capable of doing the work, because that had been taken away from them as well. So I introduced it, consolidated a lot of their learning and gave them a little bit more confidence as well. So to do that, we actually sat down as a group and decided what we're going to teach each week and what to focus on. And then using Classdojo, because obviously we didn't feel comfortable putting the code on the website in case other people came in with the code. So we used Classdojo that went to Messenger, that only went to the parents' message. We also put it on the story page, so only the children could actually access it, and then we would monitor that as well. And eventually it went to, we would put 2 tasks on. So on Monday we put 2 maths tasks on, but it would be just slightly differentiated, because obviously not all the children could obviously access. If we were just putting a year 6 task on, they couldn't access it, and you could see the reds starting to appear and the squares getting bigger and bigger, and you could just picture their faces of like, oh, I can't do it. So we slightly made it a little bit more easier by dipping into 4 and 5, and kind of doing that coverage as well to get their confidence to build on it. And over a few weeks, we decided just to put 3 tasks on, just to up it, and we gave them an extension task, and we obviously gave them, the children, the freedom to do that. So obviously we put it on, here's another extension task, if you would like to do it, have a go. And there was a massive uptake. I mean, out of 60 children, some days we would have 50 children on LbQ, and that was really good for us because we could track those children to make sure they were doing the work, because even though we were sending some work home, like Sam was saying, the paperwork is just incredible. So saving the environment, doing it online as well. But we also found that some children, even though we're setting the 3 tasks during the day, we didn't set 3 on the morning and 3 on an afternoon, like we've read about some schools doing. We just set 3, because what we're finding was some children couldn't get access to the computer till later on during the day. So with that code using all day, by the next day we could actually check it to see who'd been on, see if there had any problems. And we started actually getting parents involved, who would actually start saying, question 24, how do you do it? So we get a snapshot of the answer and talk them through to go, oh, it's okay, I'm just being a bit daft. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we'd send them off as well. And that's really worked, even now, right up till now. And there's been many success stories about that as well, with just so much, but all the vulnerable children as well who weren't coming into school. We had some children in school who were doing the same work, but the ones who stayed off school or didn't want to come into school, we would still set them, and we can see them doing the work and we can see them progressing. It's just about, it basically wasn't letting them go away and teach anything. It was just consolidating what they'd already learned and giving them those skills to kind of improve and develop the confidence while we weren't there. But with us being there and answering the questions, and even pausing a few questions every now and again, so it was very good, because obviously while a few people were on, you could see them stop, answer a question, send a quick note, a message, what do you think of this, and they would answer you back as well, which is really good. And then obviously start them back up again. But obviously parents are on board as well. So
I was going to ask what the feedback from parents was, because we've had other schools. I mean, Lanchester that Leanne went to visit, they've been using LbQ a lot during lockdown, and they've had a lot of positive feedback from parents. You know, because I mean, probably a lot of you in a position like me. I mean, as well as working for LbQ, I've got 2 kids at home, and I'm kind of responsible for their learning, which is a bit laughable, really, because they won't listen to a blind thing that I say. So the idea that you could run an LbQ question set and it would slightly take the pressure off the parents, and also maybe get them involved. Like you said, some of the questions further on in maths for, say, year 5 or year 6, they're not easy questions. They require multiple problem solving, and they're using a skill like, you know, decimals or percentages or whatever, but they're sometimes coming at it from you know, not from the most obvious of angles, because that's the kind of thing that you're going to meet if you did SATs. So obviously, you know, I guess parents have been liking it.
Yeah, parents have completely embraced it, but because I think it's because we put the code on as well. Initially, the children would have shown them what to do to connect as a pupil, write in the code, type the name in, and they're away with it. And for parents, that was easy as well. That was the feedback from that, because they could see the child doing the work. They could see the real-time like progress of that child as well with the squares, and we could see that as well. So we would send a message, because sometimes you could see them getting kind of stuck on a certain question. So we would message them and say, right, move on from this question. Remember all the skills you've learned in school. Try to apply them at home, just because we aren't there. And you could then certainly progress a bit further, which is really good. But obviously,
sorry to interrupt you. I've had a question from Leanne to Stephen. Did you have any barriers to access in terms of tablets or internet? And did you send any tablets home or have to provide internet services for your families?
Yeah, we did, Leanne. We did have some problems with laptops and tablets. That's why we went down the route of putting the code on and only doing 3 tasks instead of 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. But obviously, we've provided some children with tablets, and through the government process as well, we've obviously gave them out tablets, internet access as well. We didn't send the tablets home. We decided to keep them into school, which made it obviously easy for when children come back to obviously use them. And that's what, same with Sam, that's what we're planning on coming back. Because even though hopefully down the line with year 6 coming back, some teachers will be going in, but we can still set that work, because we know there's some children who might not come back to school. So therefore, the children in school are getting the same work as the children at home. And we can kind of contact and manage that between us as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Good. Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that experience, Stephen, from the using LbQ in a way that it really wasn't perhaps originally designed for. We designed it as a classroom intervention tool, yet because of the way it's built and the technologies behind it, obviously it has adapted really well to life in lockdown. And a lot of that has also been the creativity of teachers. I mean, it's obvious to say teachers are very creative and they problem solve around teaching and learning, but they do. So, you know, teachers have made it work, and also the kids have been resilient. I mean, we've even had schools where the kids had never used LbQ at school. So they're basically a school had decided to start using LbQ when the kids weren't there. So they kind of sent it out cold, just sent this code home to the kids and said, you know, log on and use it. And, you know, the feedback from that is that, you know, apart from the odd glitch, is as easily sorted. The pupils all got on, just started answering questions, and it worked. So I suppose it just means if you design a system that will work really well in the classroom, it can be moved elsewhere. So yes, that's excellent. Let's just check. Oh, that's just Leanne saying thank you. I wondered if anybody had got any final questions, because we're getting more or less to the end of the half an hour. So if you've got any other questions for Sam, Leanne, or Stephen, then now is a good time to ask them. And all I'll do is I'll just do a shameless plug for the Shine project. So if you want to know more about Shine, and you're a school in the North East and you're above the national average for pupil premium, then if you go to lbq.org/shine, then there you go. Pat's posted it in the chat box again. Then that's the web page that basically explains everything about the project, what the school has to do, how the school gets involved, and in particular, it's also got the finance. So if you needed tablets, so if you wanted the LbQ tablets, there's an LbQ tablet. So this is what the kids have in the classroom, 8-inch Android tablet that they can answer with. We can provide subsidized access to those. So if you're interested in Shine, do go and look at it. And also, if you want to get in touch with us, then Pat will pop the email, the generic email, in the chat box as well. And Dave's just asked a question. I'll actually ask that for him. And he's asking it for teachers. teachers, what's your best tip? What's your best tip for using LbQ? So we'll start with Stephen because you're on. What's your best tip?
Right, my best tip is to obviously get some training, which is really good from Matthew when he comes out, and just play with it. Have a go on the system and see all the useful features, because there are so many useful features. There's features there that I actually haven't even engaged with, and as a staff we haven't engaged with anymore, but we want to take that further on board. The children, just let them play as well, because initially when we first introduced it, we just said, this is the code, this is what you're going to do, have a play, see if you can come up. And I learned so much from the children by actually saying, no, you can't do this, or this question wants it answering this way. Comes up with a green square or a blue square. I was like, what's a blue square? And the children would say, it's this, Miss Molyneux. Yeah, right, brilliant. And we take it on board from that. So you just got to run with it and have a go with it and have fun with it, because the children pick it up so quick and they move on so quickly as well.
Yeah, I mean, they spend their lives on tablets, so if you give them an atlas on a tablet, they pretty much know everything about it within 5 minutes of hitting it. What about Sam? What's your number one tip?
I think I would agree. I set up a lesson and made my wife log in and try it, much to my amusement, but just so I could get a bit of an idea on it before I took it to the kids. But again, the kids picked it up straight away. I hadn't seen blue boxes. I'd only seen red boxes when my wife had tried it. Maybe I pushed her a little bit too far first go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, have a test of it first, but the possibilities and the scope for it are massive. Like I said, we'd scratch the surface in a trial, and then the couple of months we had it up and running before lockdown, it's already getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, just play around with it, like Stephen said.
Yeah, and that you made a good point there, Sam, about the size of the question sets. I mean, how much content there is in LbQ. If we I think Dave, before we did lockdown, I think he printed off all the questions, and he came in with a pile of paper that kind of was almost as tall as a desk. So we've got tens of thousands of questions. In fact, Dave will put how many questions we've got in the chat box. I always forget. So we've got a lot of content, and the content gets added to all the while. So our teacher authors are always writing new content and exploring new ways of actually providing question sets for teachers. So that the size of the question sets is really important, because it means probably pretty much any lesson you teach, we're going to have questions for it. So yeah, Dave said 80,000 more or less and rising, going up. Our question authors are working through lockdown and doing it. Pat said, if you want a demonstration, so if you've not used LbQ before and you actually want someone to show you round, in other words, get on the website, show you how to find a question set, how to set one and everything, we can do that. And just email training@lbq.org and we can set a meeting like this up, but more personal, with screen sharing, and we can show you how to use it. So and then you can have your trial and you can try it straight away. So there's no barriers to having a go at learning by questions and seeing what it can do for you.